Okay, we're ready to call this meeting to order. Good morning. We're calling to order the meeting of the Environmental Improvement Program Committee. The date is Wednesday, July 23rd, and the time is 9:01. And the first item on the agenda is roll call to determine a quorum, and that would be Maria? Yes, okay.
Ms. Conrad Seda,
Here.
Ms. Faustinos,
Here.
Ms. Hayes,
Here.
Ms. Lane,
Here.
Mr. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Settlemeyer, Ms. Williamson.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go over the remote and in-person meeting rules for the day. I think our remote committee members have heard this many times, so just remember that you may not use the chat box to make any comments or to have sidebar conversations. For committee members who are in person, please raise your hand if you wish to comment, as you will online as well. State your name and speak clearly into the microphone in front of you. If you are viewing the webinar or on a personal computer, please ensure that your microphone and speakers are turned off to prevent audio feedback. The first item on our agenda is a public comment period for items on the agenda. Any member of the public wishing to address the committee on an agenda item may do so at this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments on other matters may be redirected to the public interest comment period before adjournment of the meeting. So please raise your hand now here in the meeting room if you wish to make a comment at the podium. Seeing none. Maria, do we have anyone online, or Catherine?
Madam Chair, we have no hands raised online to comment.
Okay, great. So we are then going to close the public comment period and move on to approval of the agenda. And staff, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
No changes.
Great. Okay, so the agenda is approved as submitted. And now we will move on to the approval of minutes. And we have a draft set of minutes from March 26 on page 17 of your packet. Does any member of the committee wish to make any changes to the draft minutes as submitted, either online or here in the room? Okay, it doesn't seem like it. Do I have a motion from a member to approve the minutes?
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. The minutes are approved. So now we're going to go into the star of the show here. David Middleton.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you're prepping, for the summit, right? So we're going to hear now about the Tahoe Summit overview. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Ms. Faustinos. Good morning, committee members. Devin Middlebrook, TRPA Government Affairs Manager. For the record, here to talk to you about the 2025 Tahoe Summit, Tahoe's favorite event of the year. The Tahoe Summit is now in its 29th year, originally started in 1997 when President Clinton and Vice President Al Gore were brought to Tahoe by Senator Feinstein and Senator Reed to really reestablish the federal commitment to Lake Tahoe's environment, actually created the Environmental Improvement Program, but reaffirmed the federal commitment to protecting Tahoe's environment, and has led in years since to multiple rounds of the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act and all of the success we have seen so far. So this year, we are hosting the Tahoe Summit on August 6th. Actually, U.S. Senator Schiff out of California is hosting the Tahoe Summit. We will be at Valhalla Tahoe in the South Shore, beautiful venue. Wonderful location, one of Senator Feinstein's favorite locations to host the summit. This year's theme is Protecting Lake Tahoe, Balancing Sustainable Recreation and Conservation. Really hits some of the hot topics that we've been talking about and key things that we've been focusing on at this board in the last year. So really aligned theme. And then we will also be honoring Senator Feinstein's legacy. So for those that don't know just all of the details, Wednesday, August 6th, the program runs from 10 a.m. to noon. Registration opens at 9. I believe most board members have let me know about their attendance or inability to attend this year. If you can't attend in person, it will also be live streamed. We have had a very successful registration so far, partially driven by I think the keynote speaker this year, Academy Award nominated actor Jeremy Renner and nearby Tahoe resident. So we've actually had to close in-person registration because we've reached capacity at the site. But the public is still encouraged to go to tahoesummit.org and sign up for the live stream of the event. And then always, as always, we will have our environmental booth fair before and after the summit program. And we've got, I think, about 40 environmental organizations this year that will be sharing all of their great work with the public who are attending the event. Next slide. As you may have noticed on my slide deck, there is a new environmental improvement program logo. So one of the priorities of the program for the last year is to really update our branding and communications for the public to really get more awareness of the program and really support the work that we all do every day among our 80+ public and private partners. So this is the new EIP logo, which we're all very excited to be launching during the summit. We also have a summit program logo. Next slide. And a new Tahoe Summit website. So folks that registered for the summit this year were greeted by our new lovely website that has, again, really seen a real jump in registrations this year. So we're all very excited for the summit and those board members that are participating. Next slide. As part of the summit, we also do a pre-summit virtual briefing for our congressional delegation offices, really to get them prepared for the summit, thinking about the upcoming event and what priorities Tahoe has for the next year. So just want to run through real quickly what our top 10 list is for 2025. Obviously, number 10 being the Tahoe Summit turning 29. I just spoke about the summit, so we can go to the next slide. Number 9 is science says we're making progress, but urgent threats are here. You all last month received a presentation about our threshold evaluation, so I won't belabor that point, but we are making significant progress in many areas of our threshold categories. But with climate change, as we've seen in diverging trends in clarity, increased risk of wildfire, there are still threats, and working with the Tahoe Science Advisory Council is a key component of advising and informing our policy work here at TRPA. Next slide. 2025 is a landmark year for the EIP. If you've been around town at all this summer, it is, and being born and raised here, this is one of the busiest construction seasons I can remember in the basin. And many of those projects are environmental improvement program projects. 40+ EIP projects are being implemented around the basin this year. And it is really a record year for those projects, which is great to see. Next slide. Number 7, the Washoe tribe is returning cultural knowledge to the landscape. Really, as you can see in this image, highlighting their role with the new sawmill down in Carson City, the Meeks Meadow or Malaya-Wata restoration project on the West Shore, and really just any way that we can work with the Washoe tribe to keep increasing their participation in the Tahoe Basin and using their traditional knowledge to inform how we build more resilience on the landscape. So really an important partnership and one we're trying to strengthen every day. Next slide. Forest health and wildfire, we must stay the course. It's no mystery that wildfire season is here. Actually, just yesterday, there was a fire just a couple, maybe even a quarter mile to our west over by Van Sickle By State Park that was put out promptly by our local fire departments. So we all know that we've been working on wildfire. You received a briefing recently as well, but really top of mind for folks. Next slide. Golden mussels are a new and urgent threat. Golden mussels discovered last year in the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta are rapidly spreading through the state, and you all proactively approved changes to our boat inspection program earlier this year, and we've already inspectors have already intercepted 1 mussel boat this boating season, and golden mussels as this month were actually discovered as far south as LA. So they are rapidly spreading throughout the state and something that is on top of mind for all of us across the West. Next slide. We have a 25-year vision for transportation, and we need to fund it. That will be a major topic of this month's governing board meeting. But really, transportation, as we saw at last year's summit with Secretary Buttigieg as the keynote, transportation is a key priority, and all of the emphasis you all have put on transportation has led to advancements in projects. Emerald Bay Shuttle that Supervisor Lane has led is now running and having rave reviews in its first week. And many of the projects and EIP projects around the lake this year are transportation projects as well. Next slide. We are creating a tourism economy that gives back. This is all about sustainable recreation and destination stewardship. Again, core to this year's summit theme. And through the Destination Stewardship Council that TRPA and many of our partner organizations are involved in, had another successful July 5th weekend recently with another 26% reduction in the amount of litter picked up after the July 4th holiday. So we are making a difference in our recreation system. Next slide. Federal funding is the cornerstone and catalyst for the EIP. I'll provide a more detailed update on the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act later today during the full board presentation, but just really emphasize with our congressional delegation the importance of their support for Tahoe and how it really unlocks additional state, local, and private funding for EIP projects. And we just got word and have secured all of our appropriation requests for the LTRA in fiscal year 25. So that was big news yesterday. Next slide. And then we need your help. We always end our presentations with a call to action and really looking forward at federal priorities in the next year, including outdoor recreation, implementation of the Explore Act, and the upcoming federal surface transportation reauthorization bill. Next slide. And then overall for the summit, we have additional key messages that everyone is working to get across, where the EIP is a national model for bipartisan collaboration. We can really be an example for other landscapes in the states and across the country. Tahoe is 90% public lands, and we need to balance sustainable rec and conservation to protect it. Recognizing Senator Feinstein's leadership and how she transformed the future of Tahoe, and then celebration of reauthorizing the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act, which happened shortly after last year's summit. So a great opportunity to celebrate that. Next slide. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Fastinos, for board questions.
Thank you, Mr. Middlebrook. Appreciate that presentation. Phenomenal amount of work, obviously, to report on. So to my fellow committee members, any comments you'd like to make? How about online? Don't see any hands raised, but I don't think that that's an indication of how much we appreciate the work that goes into the summit. And I would just like to personally acknowledge that my state senator is obviously hosting this year. And I don't think we could be in better hands. Just a phenomenal representative for our state and I think for the nation, in particular when it comes to environmental issues. His reputation is stellar, and I think that we're going to get some really good things coming out of this summit. So appreciate everyone's work on this.
Who's in charge of the weather?
We are Devin Middlebrook for the record. We closely monitor the weather and have plan B, C, and D locations just in case.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If there's no other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation on State Route 28 and the Spooner Mobility Hub and Watercraft Inspection Station project. Information on this item can be found on page 503 of our hefty briefing book this month. And for that presentation, I think we're going to be hearing from Nick Haven.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Faustinos, members of the committee. My name is Nick Haven. I'm with the transportation team here at TRPA. I'm happy to present this project. We have a great team here today. We're going to give you a briefing on a very important project that's a key component identified in the State Route 28 Corridor Management Plan, and that holistic whole set of solutions along a very treasured corridor of the lake. And the project is the Spooner Mobility Hub and Permanent Watercraft Inspection Station. And this is a project that's been kind of a long time coming and is a great example of Tahoe's partnering and how we deliver the EIP. I'm joined today by Jim Marino and Tara Steyer from the Tahoe Transportation District, as well as Tyler Wood from the Nevada Department of Transportation. And they're going to help give you some information about the project and also provide some context on the SR 28 Corridor Management Plan, just a reminder. Other partners in attendance are the U.S. Forest Service, Nevada Division of State Lands couldn't make it today, but they are a big partner in this project. So again, a kind of a multi-agency collaborative effort. Next slide, please. So just to orient you a little bit to the project location is on State Route 28. So it's just north of Spooner Summit. And it's right across the street from the Spooner State Park. And so a co-location of an intersection improvement and just making a safer entrance, not only to the park, but providing a new entrance to accommodate trailers into the new facility. The main project elements are safe highway, off-highway parking. So it's about 250 managed parking spaces, a transit hub, so transit access, as well as the permanent watercraft inspection station. TTD and NDOT here will give more details on those components, but just wanted to kind of provide you a broader overview on the project and what we're trying to accomplish. Next slide. The environmental review for this project was accommodated through an environmental assessment done by the U.S. Forest Service. And more recently, some of those technical studies were actually reevaluated earlier this year. Air quality, noise, cultural, and geotech studies were reevaluated just to make sure we're up to date. And then there were some additional requests from the Federal Highway Administration that we accommodated. And so the project does require a TRPA permit. It's scheduled to actually come to the governing board for permit for decision next month. And the funding for this project is definitely a broad mix of funding, as all transportation projects seem to be. It has an earmark that TRPA and the basin received about 3 years ago. So there's kind of a clock ticking on that funding. So we're advancing the project as quickly as we can, as well as significant aquatic invasive species funding through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The Nevada Division of State Lands has contributed very generously to this project, as well as Nevada DOT. Nevada DOT has stepped up and covered a couple of escalating cost elements and others. And so again, just a broad partnership of funding, and that's what it takes to deliver these transportation EIP projects in the basin. From a construction standpoint and a delivery standpoint, the Nevada Department of Transportation has been leading the main design of the project, and they will be responsible for constructing what we're calling kind of the civil elements. So the pavement, the earthwork, the concrete, the utilities, the intersection improvement, that will all be delivered through an NDOT contract. And then the Tahoe Transportation District will come follow that and deliver what we're calling the vertical elements. And so these are like the buildings, right? The AIS equipment, office, bathrooms, transit waiting area, and then they're going to do some minimal lighting. I know there was a comment regarding the lighting. That was a good comment. It is going to be dark sky compliant lighting, and it's kind of minimal to provide safety at the facility. And then there could be other possible interpretive visitor elements that we're working with the Forest Service and other partners on. So now I'm going to turn it over to the real stars of the show, the folks that have all the answers to your questions, and they're going to provide some brief context setting. Tara is going to go over a little reminder on the SR 28 corridor management plan and what we're trying to accomplish in that corridor. And then Jim and Tyler provide some more detail on the project itself.
Good morning. Thank you, Nick. Tara Steyer, Capital Program Manager with Tahoe Transportation District. So starting back in 2013, 13 partner agencies came together, including TTD and TRPA, to create the SR 28 National Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan. So that plan actually has 5 goals. We aim to improve safety, protect the lake, enhance the visitor experience, expand the multimodal options, and promote economic vitality. So project-specific goals are to relocate the unsafe shoulder-parked vehicles to designated off-highway lots. We want to extend that shared use path, create future transit connections, and then coordinate operations and maintenance. And currently, operations and maintenance are supported through paid parking revenues. So that's really key to the concept in the corridor. Also, the corridor management plan created a corridor management team, And that includes representatives from the partner agencies. We meet bi-monthly and we discuss the operations and maintenance of the first 3 miles of completed path, as well as the parking lot, and then upcoming projects. Next slide, please. So the formal public comment period was completed through the EA. But given that we have 4 projects in the corridor that are in the design phase, project partners thought it was important to re-engage the community and get some input on project design features. So we held an open house on April 30th of this year, and that was at the Incline Village Library. And we had a pretty good turnout of almost 70 community members and great representation from project partners. So the public comment period was open between April 30th and May 19th. And we will have a final public outreach summary posted on our website in the upcoming weeks. And I think with that, I'll pass it to Jim to talk about the Spooner project components.
Good morning, Chair Faustinos, members of the committee. For the record, Jim Marino, Executive Director, Tahoe Transportation District. And I just want to say, real quickly, it's been a pleasure working with Nick and TRPA folks and NDOT on this project. And we're really excited that this is going to go out to bid very soon here. The Spooner project, as Mr. Haven had mentioned, really consists of 3 main components: a public parking component with infrastructure for real-time parking and transit information, transit facilities themselves, and a permanent watercraft inspection station. As Mr. Haven had mentioned, the project is dual scope insofar as NDOT is the lead agency on all the civil work and all the site work, and TTD is the lead agency in all the above groundwork. It's important to note that TTD will be responsible for the overall operations and maintenance of this facility through a U.S. Forest Service special use permit. So once the site is constructed, TTD is taking on the operations and maintenance responsibilities. And as Ms. Steyer had mentioned, that the cost for those responsibilities are primarily derived from parking revenue. Next slide, please. The parking component of the project proposes up to 250 parking spaces, including American with Disabilities Act parking. The parking will be managed through TTD's Park Tahoe parking program for consistency in corridor payment and enforcement mechanisms, pay by text or pay by kiosk at the site. And we're planning a future mobile application to be implemented as more projects along the corridor become reality, such as Chimney Beach, Secret Harbor, Sand Harbor, and North Parking. Parking revenue generated for O&M of the site is anticipated to generate additional revenue that can be applied to the SR 28 corridor transportation and transit projects and programs in the future. This is a not-for-profit enterprise here. All revenue generated by this site and other sites on the SR 28 corridor are proposed to be implemented back into the corridor to either maintain the properties in their perpetuity or to increase transit and transportation opportunities, such as multimodal access. As mentioned in the previous slide, TTD is incorporating infrastructure to allow future installation of real-time parking and transit information that can be accessed via mobile application. We feel that this alone will help with congestion and understanding what's going on with the corridor from a visitor standpoint. Next slide, please. I'm locked out here, so I'll just go, excuse me while I go to my paper set up here. The other component of the project is the mobility hub and transit component. And this element contains off-highway transit stop and a hub with a public shelter and restroom facilities for the visitors. TTT anticipates future transit operations post-construction, including potential hub connection from the Carson Valley and the South Shore of Lake Tahoe, which would then truly create a regional connection in the basin. All future projects along the corridor, such as Secret Harbor, Sand Harbor, will contain off-highway transit access with potential mid-corridor connection points, to further public transit accessibility in the corridor. Additionally, this project will include primary power upgrades and underground infrastructure to support electric vehicle charging for transit in the future. Although we are not installing the actual EV charging facilities as part of this project, we are doing all the underground work and making sure that we have primary power sufficient to the site to do that in the future. Next slide, please. I think most importantly on this site is the permanent watercraft inspection station. You know, I think we've all recognized that Lake Tahoe's best defense against aquatic invaders is prevention. And the aquatic species inspection program continues to be successful. Continued threat of species like the recently discovered golden mussel shows the need for developed and permanent stations. This particular facility is replacing a temporary facility that exists on NDOT right away at the US 50 and 28 intersection, informally known as Hospital Hill to many people. The new facility consists of 2 single-story buildings. It will consist of a decontamination area and a small office and restroom for the employees. This project will serve to develop a standard for future site configuration and facilities around the rest of the basin. And the site improvements will include an expanded decontamination pad, pull-through lanes, and increased vehicle staging areas off the highway. I want to thank you for listening to me here, and hopefully I made some sense there. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Tyler Wood from NDOT to walk you through some of the project elements as far as the site work is concerned.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning, Chair Fastinos and members of the committee. Tyler Wood with the Nevada Department of Transportation. I'm the project manager from NDOT for this project. I get the fun slide with the pretty pictures. This is a rendering we've developed for the future mobility hub site. And as Nick, Tara, and Jim mentioned, we have quite a few project partners involved with Mobility Hub, and it's truly been an effective collaboration. We have bi-weekly TAC meetings since the project's inception, which have been crucial in evaluating stakeholder feedback and addressing issues as they arise, and helping us keep on schedule. Because of this, we've progressed through multiple iterations of this site layout, and we're continuously trying to balance efficiency, safety, aesthetics, and our environmental impact of the site. Next label. Here's the site entrance. It's located directly across from the Spooner Lake State Park entrance. Vehicles will enter and exit. There's the AIS inspection station, 2 inspection lanes and 1 through lane for bypassing it. Transit stop also serves as the access for the primary parking area. We included an emergency and maintenance access gated entrance for emergencies and maintenance. Primary parking is going to have 232 spaces. And ADA parking and restroom, 10 ADA compliant spaces. And we are also including a pedestrian crossing, mostly intended for the future East Shore Trail to be able to connect to Spooner Lake State Park. We've been developing the plan since early 2024 and are currently underway with the final review. Hoping for permit approval this August to be able to advertise in September. Construction is anticipated to take 2 full construction seasons. We're hoping to be able to open the site in fall of 2027. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the funding partners, NDOT, USDOT, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Nevada Division of State Lands, TRPA. Without them, we wouldn't have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite the presentation. And obviously, this is not a voting matter, but I think it's a good time for members that might have some specific comments to provide them. So it's Conrad Zaid.
Thanks so much. This was detailed and really helpful. Just a question. I think when we first discussed this, I was asking about potential EV parking and was wondering what the consideration was for EV parking and what the plan is to potentially put in charging spots, and or if you've considered, solar covers and other ways to kind of reduce impact and allow EV drivers access.
Yeah, I can take this. So as Jim mentioned, we are laying down the infrastructure and having enough electricity to the site for future EV parking. The cost of including that infrastructure for the project, as well as NDOT delivering it, we're kind of not syncing up. And NDOT actually has a rule, so to speak, policy of not installing public EV infrastructure, is what I was told.
And if I could chime in, what we're trying to do is get all the underground infrastructure and the primary power. So we've done all of our electrical calculations for the site to support future vehicle EV charging as well as public transit charging. So we have enough primary power coming into the site. We have the transformers and we have the underground infrastructure. TTD will be seeking future grants, EV-based grants, to get the actual charging infrastructure put in at some point in the future.
Yeah, it would be great when the permit comes in just to include an actual timing, like a plan for that and an estimated cost. Because I feel like that's something where there could be some advocacy from TRPA to bring the funding in. It would be great to just do that construction all at once and minimize impacts, and not have to do it at a future time. So even if it's an appendix or something that's not included in the permit, but a plan for what it would take, estimated number of spots, right? And some incremental increase, right? So if you're estimating 10 spots, what would an incremental cost be to say get to 20 spots, that type of thing. And maybe just a footnote on what the law is that prevents that kind of public funding. Any additional information will be helpful. I don't mind if that just comes to me also, or just to the EIP, but I know a number of us would be interested in advocating to make sure that we, facilitate alternative ways of moving around the basin.
Yeah, and I hope I didn't misspeak about the EV installation on NDOT side. But that's something I can look into.
Great. Ms. Williamson.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Parking, a couple questions about enforcement and if there'll be time limits, what we're thinking about, are there going to be time limits, and then who's enforcing the parking? Is there a monetary violation? Anything around that would be helpful.
The plan as of right now is to structure it the same way as the Park Tahoe program that's at the existing Tunnel Creek or Ponderosa lot. No time limits, but it is a demand-based pricing structure. But all of that will need to be worked out with the Forest Service through the special use permit.
Thank you. And enforcement if someone's parked there and hasn't paid?
Yes, so we actually have parking ambassadors now, and we plan to expand that program corridor wide. Which could include a vehicle with a license plate reader. So the parking ambassador could, go through the lots rather than having an individual on site. Currently, we have an individual on site with a mobile app and a printer who checks license plates and makes sure, everyone has paid. And if they haven't paid, they issue a notice of non-compliance and leave that on the vehicle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Mr. Rice.
Thank you. As you know, we in Douglas just approved Lake Link expansion for the next 3 years. And my question is there any plans in the future to extend Lake Link all the way up to Spooner? Or is there a fixed route that might be able to be accessed by the Douglas County residents?
Thank you for the question. Jim Marino for the record. Currently, we have no near-term plan for Lake Link to get to Spooner Summit. But the idea of the hub itself is to serve that need in the future. With regard to fixed route, we are contemplating a route from the Carson Valley to Spooner Summit, and then from Spooner Summit to South Shore, and then the connection point from Spooner Summit to Incline Village. So there is a fixed route proposal. Again, I just want to make the caveat that This all depends about funding, of course. Funding is the big issue. But I would say our midterm plan is to have a connection from South Shore to Spooner, from the Carson Valley to Spooner, and from Incline Village to the Spooner, and truly create that regional connection. Yep.
Any further questions, comments, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just find this SR 28 and the 89 corridors, we see the exact same problem. And SR 28 has been a great example for us, and an experiment that we could kind of take some examples from. But really, we're approaching them very differently, in that on the Highway 89 corridor, we're ultimately really trying to get people out of their vehicles and not driving there. And SR 28 is taking a very different tact, in that you're building additional parking. You're taking up actually quite a bit of, public space to build parking lots. And I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. They're just different. But I'm wondering, if you do go to the expense of building all these parking lots, and eventually the idea is to get people out of their cars, drive once to Tahoe, be able to take public transit all over the place. And TTD is becoming quite a leader in those regional kind of connections. So has there been discussion about ultimately what would we do with these big lots that we build if there might be abandoned at some point?
For the record, thank you for the question. For the record, Jim Marino. Good point. Good question. Ultimately, if no one's driving, then the need for an expansive parking lot isn't there. I will say that we are not creating additional parking. I want that to be on record here. This is mitigated parking. So what we're doing is we're taking the illegal shoulder parking that's occurring in the corridor and moving it to a safe off-highway location. We're not getting a 1-to-1 ratio. I don't think we'll ever get a 1-to-1 ratio, but we are making a significant impact. I can't answer what we would do with the property once, if we ever get in a world where public transit is truly serving the corridor and there's no vehicles. I would say that if we're making progress in that direction, then I think, to answer your question, we'd start going down the road, seeing what the particular use for those lots would be. But at this point in time, we don't see anything happening in the next 10 years of really limiting traffic to the standpoint where we're only providing public transit in the corridor. But I will say that the biggest issue we see in the corridor, along with congestion, is safety. It's the illegal shoulder parking, and that's really the primary objective of a lot of these projects that TTD and NDOT are undertaking. We have shoulder parking that's creating really unnecessary pedestrian movements along a highway with 50-mile-an-hour speed limits. We routinely see baby carriages, small children, people carrying coolers and beach equipment. And our parking lots that we're providing or designing are really designed to get those folks off the road, mitigate, then make that parking illegal and obstruct it somehow, and then have safe, reliable access to the trails that these folks want to get to without having to walk a quarter-mile down the highway with industrial trucks and everything else. So I can't really answer your question, what will happen to the lots in the future, but I just want you to know that, this is a mitigated parking program, not an additional parking program. Thank you.
Ms. Reagan.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to build on Mr. Marino's comments. Julie Reagan, TRPA Executive Director. For the record, great question, Ms. Lane. I think a couple other key points worth mentioning is the distinction between the 28 corridor and the 89 corridor. The 89 corridor is close to the biggest commercial center in the basin. So you've got the biggest population base, you've got commercial activity at the Y area. You have more opportunities for shuttling than you do in what is a much more rural setting at the top of Spooner Summit and the 28 corridor. And it's worth noting that in that corridor plan, we know there's more than 1,000 cars that park on the 28 corridor. The parking lots are only designed right now for about 550 of those cars. So it is not a one-to-one replacement. And there's also the potential there for winter activities. Mr. Marino mentioned, Hospital Hill or Mr. Wood, and it is a very well accessed area that is unsafe currently. I mean, people now, they're parking on the other side of Spooner Summit across the highway, crossing the highway to get to that hill. This could, down the road, again, under the terms of the special use permit, potentially have some winter access as well. So there are some differences. And then if you think of the 89 corridor, we went on a site walk. There is a snow park also that's quite extensive across from the Baldwin Beach area. So it could be a similar arrangement on 89 down the road, but ultimately we want to get people out of their cars. But we have to, we're trying to be realistic to replace that shoulder parking, as Mr. Marino said. And I want to reemphasize that these are not capacity inducing. These are designed to get cars off the road and still get people in there with transit.
Great, thank you. I'm not seeing anyone online raise their hand, so I'll just take a quick minute. If we could go back to the previous slide, I just had a question about the crossing that was in the, yes. So in that pedestrian crossing that you have marked there, has there been given any consideration to actually doing one of those activated lights, flashing lights, so that, again, it slows people down a little bit. It's not the same as a stop sign, but yet, allows traffic to flow more freely. I just, with a highway with that high capacity, it just seems like, having a crossing walk without any kind of lighting.
Yes,
would
yes. Tyler
challenging.
Wood for the record. Yeah, I actually neglected to mention that we are installing a pedestrian hybrid beacon that actually has a solid red light. So traffic will be required to stop for
Okay.
pedestrians crossing.
Great, great. And then my other comment is that along with Ms. Conrad Seda about the EV parking, I think that the challenge that we face is that since it's not going in now, that when you put it in, hopefully in a few years, then you're going to have the feedback of, oh my God, you're taking away our parking spaces. So if there is a way that you could potentially even mark 2 to 3 spaces, future EV parking station, again, I think it's transparent to the public then that this is something that's anticipated and is coming and could help, serve that. And of course, there will still be feedback on that issue, but at least puts us on record that it's something that we as a board and the EIP committee is strongly urging. And then I just want to, again, for the record, I mean, clearly this is a large project that, is going to be removing, a substantive number of trees, but I think, the balance that we have to consider is that, public safety is such a huge issue. I feel with this rendering, I get the impression that there will be some adequate screening, so the visual impacts, I think, will be reduced. So it's just, something on the record that I'd like to recognize, that I think that we have to say that, doing nothing at this point is not in anyone's interest. So just make that comment. Okay, if we have no further comments, then thank you all very, very much. I think this is great to lay the groundwork for the next meeting, and hopefully we'll see you again in August. Okay, before the full board. All righty, so moving on now to agenda item number 6, committee member comments. Do we have any? I don't see anyone online. So now, yes, please.
The final, I just want to thank our partners again, Julie Reagan here for the record. The Tahoe Transportation District and NDOT have really stepped up. This was a bit of a dream for us to have a permanent inspection station at the top of Spooner right now, the temporary nature of that, there's porta potties, it's hot, there's not adequate shelter for our staff and the conservation district staff. And we don't build projects. So this underscores that partnership of the environmental improvement program where NDOT and TTD and the Forest Service and the state lands and all the partners have come together to cobble together a financing plan to get this done. And I just wanted to thank TTD and NDOT in particular for their attention today. And then to go from lessons learned, and TTD has done a great presentation in front of the Tahoe Transportation District's board and committees on the Park Tahoe program. And I didn't want to gloss over that. That was mentioned in the presentation. And interestingly, with their experience in Incline Village at the Tunnel Creek parking for the East Shore Trail, people that are to Chair Williamson's question about parking and, overstaying, they have a whole statistical record of people actually paying those tickets. A lot of places when people travel, they'll get a ticket, you never see the revenue. People are paying those tickets. So we have a good pilot in that spot that will inform the other parking scenarios along that corridor. So just wanted to say thanks for the leadership and the partnership.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to our public interest comments. If there's anyone that would like to make a comment here in the room, please come to the podium. Okay, I don't see anyone charging up. So online, do we have any public comment period?
Madam Chair, we have
Speakers?
one hand raised online. Helen Neff, please unmute to make your comment. Helen, I can see that you're unmuted, but it doesn't look like your microphone is picking up your audio.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Helen, go ahead and hit unmute. Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised to comment.
Thank you. So with that, we will close the public comment period. And now we need to move into adjournment. Do I have a motion? Adjourn. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.